although the great activities and transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's various incarnations are wonderfully described, sometimes we are unable to understand them. Yet everything is possible for Lord Vishnu. If one could count the atoms of the universe, then he could count the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But no one can count the atoms of the universe, nor can anyone count the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Purport. The Lord's glorious activities referred to in this connection took place after his personal bodyguards, Jai and Vijay, became Daityas, having been cursed by the great sages Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanatkumara, and Sanandana. Jai, as Hiranyaksha, had to fight with Varahadev, and that same Varahadev is mentioned in regard to the Raivata millennium. The fighting, however, took place during the reign of the first Manu, Svayambhuva. Therefore, according to some authorities, there are two Varahas. According to others, however, Varaha appeared during the regime of Svayambhuva Manu and stayed in the water until that of Raivata Manu. Some may doubt that this could be possible, but the answer is that everything is possible. If one could count the atoms within the universe, one could count the qualities of Lord Vishnu. But the atoms of the universe are impossible for anyone to count, and similarly, no one can count the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Tasyanubhava katito gunascha paramodaya bauman renun savimame yo vishnor varnayet gunan. Although the great activities and transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's various incarnations are wonderfully described, sometimes we are unable to understand them. Yet everything is possible for Lord Vishnu. If one could count the atoms of the universe, then he could count the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But no one can count the atoms of the universe, nor can anyone count the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you will have to give a title to this verse, what title will you give? The qualities of the Lord? Okay, good. Understanding the absolute. The immeasurable or measurable? Immeasurable, okay. The immeasurable Lord. The inconceivable pastimes of the Lord. The Achintya feature of the Supreme. You have to speak up because I might be deaf, physically deaf. And I'm cold also, so I hear less. Any other very good titles to the verse. The title I selected was The Unlimited Transcendental Qualities of the Lord, which is more or less what you said. Basically, different titles emphasize different aspects of the Lord. And I wrote also a secondary title for myself, which sometimes we may forget. I wrote an our insignificancy. How we are insignificant. And the reason why I chose that secondary title, our insignificancy, is because sometimes, I don't say it is happening, no, but it may happen sometimes. Sometimes because we are in contact with Srimad Bhagavatam, with Srila Prabhupada, with the Association of Devotees, and we are getting so much transcendental information, we may think, we may believe that we have figured it out. We already know everything. And sometimes when we talk with people, we may talk, I don't want to undermine that. Certainly when we speak transcendental knowledge on the basis of Shastra, we can speak. We are legitimated to speak with authority. We are quoting Shastra. We are quoting authority. But we should be aware that our capacity to understand Shastra is or may be limited. And therefore, that should be taken into account when discussing Shastra, whether in public forums or in the one-to-one with persons. And we shouldn't assume that people, because people don't wear tilak and kantimala, automatically they are ignorant, they know nothing. And we, because we wear those Vaishnava symbols, not to undermine them, they are most important, and they are prescribed in Nectar of Devotion as part of the angas of devotional service, but still, that doesn't automatically qualify us to understand the Lord. And the proof, the evidence, there are many evidences in Shastra. One of the most graphic evidences, we find it in the Brahma Vimohana Lila. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it is explained, Tenne Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya, that the Supreme Truth gives enlightenment to Brahma, the first living being. So, the fact that he gave enlightenment doesn't impede the Lord to withdraw the enlightenment and to make him fall into illusion. Sometimes we heard, I didn't read it, I heard from some scholars from the Oxford Center, Vaishnava scholars, Oxford Center for Hindu Studies. I forgot who was the scholar who quoted. We heard that Madhva Sampradaya from Udupi. We belong to the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. But those who are not connected to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Tattvavadas, whom Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confronted when he visited them in Udupi at his time, they do not accept the chapters describing the Brahma Vimohana Lila, chapter 13 and 14 of the 10th canto. Because they say that how it could be Lord Brahma is the head of the Sampradaya, how it could be that he falls into illusion. It is not possible. But according to the Bhagavatam, we accept the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam as presented by the commentators. Srila Sridhara Swami commented on those chapters, so it must be true that they are bona fide, these chapters. Otherwise, why the commentators of the Bhagavatam will have accepted? So, the fact that the Bhagavatam states it shows that, yes, anyone can become bewildered. And Lord Brahma revealed this in his prayers. I selected two of the verses from Brahma's prayers after the Lord manifested unlimited Vishnu Tattva forms, and many forms of Lord Shivas, many Lord Shivas, and many Brahmas, and all of them, including the Vishnu forms, were circumambulating the Lord. As a child, the Lord had food in his left hand, which could be from the social point of view, from the culture point of view, it is not culture at all, especially for people from India. Westerners may not mind so much, or people from Vrindavan may not mind so much. Krishna Kshetra Prabhu told me that when he was doing his research about deity worship in Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, he went to Sri Radharaman temple in Vrindavan, and he saw how the priests were touching the deity with their left hand. And they were doing some things that, I don't know exactly the details, but they were doing some things that normally you won't do with the left hand, because the left hand is considered muchi. And then he asked them, what about this? I heard that this you are not supposed to do with the left hand. And then he said, we are from Vrindavan, it's okay. I was told that in India, once the cinema director made the mistake to select an actor who was left-handed to play the role of Lord Ram. Did you hear about that? What was the result? What was the outcome of that? People went to the cinema to see it, you call it the premiere, like the first launch of the film, and what happened? I don't know, one devotee told me, so I'm taking his word. What happened? Can you imagine what people in India, when they get upset about something, what they can do? Almost. They destroy. They start throwing everything away, destroying the chairs, due to the apparatu Maryada Purushottama, Lord Ramachandra. How do you dare to do something like that? So, Lord Brahma, when he saw Krishna with food in his left hand, it doesn't make sense that this is God. God cannot commit such a mistake. It is not possible. But as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, everything is possible. For God, everything is possible. And actually, God, particularly as Lila Purushottama, as Sri Krishna in Vrindavan, and also sometimes in other incarnations he manifests, he likes to do something contradictory, something different, to show that he is not bound by any rules and regulations. He can do whatever he pleases. And actually what moves him to act in a particular way is rasa, is transcendental relationship, loving relationship with his devotees. This is what is his real drive. Sometimes we are asked, like some people, like counselors or psychologists, therapists, they ask, what drives you? And that's a question we can ask ourselves. What drives me to act in life? So Krishna is driven by divine love, by rasa, by loving relationship with his pure devotees. And for that he goes beyond rules and regulations. For example, we have heard that Krishna was more pleased with Indradev when he tried to destroy Vrindavan than he was with Lord Brahma when he kidnapped the cowherd boys and the calves. Anyone remembers why or knows why? Good. So the outcome of Indra's action, despite the fact that he was ill-intentioned and he attacked in a very violent way Vrindavan and all the Vrajavasis, the outcome was that all the inhabitants of Vrindavan got together with him, with Krishna, to enjoy rasa. And he was able to enjoy rasa with all of them at once by lifting Govardhan Hill and spending 1 week together. So it was actually a highlight for Krishna. Whereas in the case of Lord Brahma, he actually separated him from his friends, from his pure devotees, and his calves. So he felt actually upset. Why you are coming to disturb my relationship with my devotees? Of course, ultimately, it was his influence that made Lord Brahma to become bewildered and to act in such a way. But in the transcendental relationship, the Lord felt more pleased with Indradev because of bringing him together with his devotees. So I selected 2 verses from the Lord Brahma's prayers, chapter 14 of the 10th canto. And this is a verse very much quoted by Srila Prabhupada about 50 times in the Veda Vase. Atapi te deva padambujadvaya prasada lesha nugrihita evahi chanati tattvam bhagavan mahimno na chanjai kopi chiram vichinvan. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. So we cannot understand Krishna as His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj was explaining yesterday. We cannot understand Krishna by intellectual endeavor, by jnana, not even by realizing that we are a spirit soul. That's insufficient to understand Krishna. Not even by the practice of penances or yoga, self-discipline to control the mind and the senses. All these things, all these practices cannot help us to understand Krishna. If we measure our ability or the ability of others to understand Krishna on the basis of these things, the Bhagavatam says, Lord Brahma says, we are mistaken. Only when Krishna reveals himself, when he feels pleased with the devotion of a devotee, then that devotee can understand Krishna. We cannot do it by our own endeavors. And here actually it is very significant that it is mentioned Leshanu Grihita in the quoted verse. Prashada Leshanu Grihita. It means just even a small fraction of mercy is sufficient to help anyone to understand Krishna or to see Krishna face to face, even to understand, as the translation says, Prabhupada translates, sometimes we are unable to understand Krishna's pastimes. And actually Srila Prabhupada is being very generous here, because he says sometimes. I will say for me, for many of us, it is many times, isn't it? We are not able to understand. We can glorify them, we can hear about them, we can appreciate them, but to say that we understand them may be a misconception. Most of the times will be a misconception, because it is not that easy to understand Krishna. We may imagine Vimukta Manina, generally it is applied to monists, Aruhya Krichrena Parampadam Tata, that verse Jindhyara Vindaksha, Vimukta Manina. Those who do not surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna may imagine themselves liberated. But it's Vimukta Manina. And we cannot say we are necessarily free from that trap. Like you may remember, many of you or some of you may have heard the description when Brahmananda Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada about impersonalist, and he was kind of a bit upset. And I mean, he didn't. Why is he speaking so much about the Mayavadis, the impersonalists? Who are those impersonalists? And then he came to realize, or Srila Prabhupada expressed, actually the impersonalists are you. Meaning that we are affected, we are, in essence, we are, every soul, Atma Bhakto. Every soul has Atma Bhakti, the pure love of the self, pure love of Godhead is there. But due to the influence of modern philosophers and Vedantic, Advaita Vedantist philosophies, Sripada Shankaracharya and his successors, we many times are influenced to think in a Mayavadi way. And many times and that's for us to judge. Here I'm just suggesting, and it's for you to judge, to analyze to what extent that's true. Many times we may, in the present, or we may have in the past, in the Krishna consciousness movement, or we as individuals, fall prey of the Mayavadi mentality. For example, the idea that my own endeavor, I can attain Krishna. I can secure a position in the spiritual world. Or just because I am a member of Srila Prabhupada's family, I'm done. I don't have to do anything else. Or I am completely transcendental, and we may become, or have become sometimes, proud like the Yadus. I'm Yadunandana, so I'm also a proud fellow, Yadunandana, son of the Yadus. I'm the servant of the Yadunandana, Lord Jagannath. So we may have become proud sometime like the Yadus, thinking that we can do anything and get away. We're Prabhupada's people. We can go anywhere, do anything, say anything, step on anyone. I know we are in Britain. Here we're very polite, transcendentally polite, and you don't do these things. But I'm talking about, in general, about the movement and what we may have done. Born in Spain, Spanish people were more passionate, and sometimes we do these things, step on others. But also sometimes we may step politely on others. We should keep that in mind. There are ways, it's still stepping on someone else, isn't it? You can do it in a gross way, you can do it in a polite way. So, confirm. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. So, of course, that's not to focus only in the defects, and maybe I'm having the fly tendency. I may have going to see the defects on what's happening. But anyway, whatever, sometimes it may have happened. For example, can you think of any examples, any historical examples from our worldwide community which may indicate some jnana contamination, any ideas, anything that you can think of? You may say, what is this fellow talking about? Any ideas, any thoughts? Can you speak? For example, yes, about in the 1970, devotees started to say that Srila Prabhupada was God. That's in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And it was actually a contradictory behavior, because on the one hand they said Prabhupada is God, so they were preaching Mayavad philosophy. On the other hand, when the Ratha Yatra festival came, I forgot what city it was, in one of the cities in America, they didn't set up Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan on the rat card for him to sit. So it was a contradictory attitude. Sometimes, like we may say something like high glorification, but if it's not real, or if it is false, if it is not according to Siddhanta, the conclusions of Shastra, then that will be the counterpart, like the two faces, like that, attachment and aversion. Aversion is the other side of the same coin, the attachment. Yes? Yes, please. So, so the zonal acharya period and you mean the speculation that only a few devotees were the acharyas, or? Yeah, yeah, like that, but by rubber stamping, someone becomes advanced. And Srila Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, in the purport to, in the section of, if I remember correctly, the Satatam Kirtayanto Mam verse, or in that section, or the next verse, Prabhupada says we cannot create a Mahatma by rubber stamping. And so, and that's not to undermine the devotees who took the service of initiating gurus in the beginning. My own Diksha Guru is one of them, and they are fit to sit on my head 10,000 times for what they did for the movement. But with it, there were some misconceptions that we had to learn from, perhaps because of the nature of being young in age, and it was a very difficult situation from having the direct guidance, personal guidance, physical presence of Srila Prabhupada, who could correct at any time, and suddenly not having Prabhupada's correction there. Vishwambar Prabhu? Yes, I mean, I cannot precisely evaluate what was happening because I wasn't present in those meetings. I was like a young boy, joined the movement at that time, so I knew, but I didn't know much. So so I cannot give an evaluation of what was going on precisely, but what I can see some connection between the idea we find in India, and this is coming from the Shankara line, this is not coming from the Vaishnava line, the idea that because someone accepts the sannyas order of life, automatically is a liberated soul. That's not the case. According to Shastra, that's completely bogus. Using the bogus term, if we want, bogus meaning, if we look at Manu Samhita, look at Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he established the sannyas order to counteract the false idea and the misbehavior of the Babaji, certain Babajis, who in the dress of the renounced order of life, they were pretending to be Paramahamsas. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to show, no, that's not true. We follow Varnashram Dharma. We're bound, not just Varnashram Dharma, but Daiva Varnashram Dharma. We are bound by the principles of scripture and the principles of culture behavior. And a sannyasi is, of course, yes, Shastra says, it's a spiritual master of all varnas and ashramas, but there may be different types of sannyasis and different levels of advancement, as much as there are many types of grihastas and many different types of advancement among them. So it is not automatic. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyasi Shudra Kene Noi Jai Krishna Tattva Veda Sei Guru Hoy. It doesn't matter if someone is Brahmana, if someone is sannyasi, or if someone is Shudra. Lord Chaitanya heard from Sri Ramananda Roy, who was technically, by birth, not by birth, but in social status, he had this mixed caste, and he was considered at the level of Shudra. But Lord Chaitanya decided to hear from him because he was a liberated soul. He was Paramahamsa. So it is not about the external, it is about the realization. And that's a very severe misconception which made many of us, I include myself and confess, commit offenses about certain members of the community who, according to scripture, must be protected and must be served, especially cared for, such as women, children, the elderly. We didn't have them, so we couldn't do much. But we don't know what we would have done if we had the elder people. It's important to be careful with that, and we should be careful. I have seen sometimes in some temples, devotees with elder in age, they need a special care. And it's very important to give it special care because the body and the mind doesn't function anymore as it functioned before. So that should not be to diminish the honor or respect. They should be respected and served very attentively. They shouldn't feel other members of the community who are younger, we should not make feel an elder person. This is basic culture, but this is part of what we deal with in the West, and probably now in India also, as things degrade more in the age of Kali. To make someone feel is a nuisance because cannot do service anymore, physical service cannot. No, we should make them feel most welcome and offer all respect to the elder. So all these were contaminations coming from the idea of renunciation. Like we are supposed to be very renounced, and then we want complete separation from women and family, the renouncers, which in the beginning of the movement that was the tradition, and we committed offenses. Happily, this is not happening as much as it happened, but I will not say we are beyond that. I will not say we are beyond that. Like now there is this debate about women initiating or not initiating. I'm not going to take any stand here because Bhagavatam class is not for giving personal opinions necessarily, but it's something that needs to be dealt with great respect and very carefully. If we should go to Shastra, what does Shastra say? Because many things may be just cultural, and this culture may not be coming from Vaishnavism, may very well be coming from the Shankarites. If we decide, okay, let's do like the Nimbarkas, only sannyasis give initiation, this is what the Nimbarka Sampradaya does, and this is what's fit for India. If that's what's decided, fine. I'm not so convinced because India is following very much the West. But anyway, the point I'm quoting this is just to indicate that you should see where some of the conceptions or maybe misconceptions we have are coming from.